Across Latin America, 2022 has been a year of drastic change, one filled with intense turmoil, tragedy, but also triumph. A year for the history books, as the region collectively confronts one of the worst humanitarian crises in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. southern border witnessing the most crossings in the country's history, over 2 million encounters this year alone, the most ever. Entire families often traveling thousands of miles to reach the U.S. The reasons for leaving, a reflection of the most pressing issues their home countries face this year. In Mexico, the year began with a tragic trend. Multiple journalists were targeted. The Committee to Protect Journalists reporting that to this day, 13 have been killed. Across the country, citizens taking to the streets as femicide rates grew. The government accounting for more than 5,600 women murdered or disappeared in 2022 alone. In Central America, the year was defined by crackdowns. In El Salvador, President Nayib Bukele declaring war on gangs after a bloody weekend of violence. More than 60,000 suspected gang members have been rounded up and thrown into prison without a trial or access to a lawyer. A controversial move that's been condemned by human rights groups. In Honduras, the country elected its first female president, Xiomara Castro, who defeated controversial President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who in February was arrested and extradited to the U.S. on weapons and drug trafficking charges. He has pled not guilty. And then there was Nicaragua, where dictator Daniel Ortega tightened his grip on the country, taking aim at journalists and critics, including the Catholic Church. But one of the biggest stories this year played out in Panama, in a dangerous stretch of jungle known as the Darien Gap. The preferred migration route for many of the more than 2 million who crossed into this region in the first 10 months of the year. Many of those making the journey coming from Haiti. Escaping the violence that has intensified this year as criminal gangs fight to take control of more territory, at times engaging in open warfare on the streets of Port-au-Prince. The UN reporting that more than 1,200 people have been killed and more than 1,000 people have been wounded or kidnapped in the country's capital. And this year, South America witnessing what experts are calling a pink tide as countries swing politically to the left, including Colombia, where former guerrilla fighter Gustavo Petro made history, becoming the country's first leftist president. But few countries saw political polarization this year quite like Brazil, where Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva defeated the incumbent, right-wing leader Jair Bolsonaro in a historic and divisive election. But that tide came crashing down in Peru, where in a dramatic series of events, the leftist leader, Pedro Castillo, was impeached and arrested on charges of rebellion and conspiracy after he tried to dissolve the Peruvian Congress. And in Argentina, a tumultuous year for the popular and polarizing vice president, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison for fraud and barred from holding public office again, allegations she denies.
Mascota de ellos no voy a ser nunca.
Just a few months earlier, Kirchner survived an assassination attempt. Video showing the moment a gunman tried to shoot her point blank. But as the year came to an end, despite the violence and the political turmoil, Argentina found a reason to celebrate. Messi and his countrymen winning the World Cup in Qatar in a stunning final, earning the trophy for the first time since 1986. Buenos Aires erupting in a football frenzy as Argentina and the Americas forge ahead into the new year. Tom Llamas, NBC News.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.